Hey, listen to Wrestling Up on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady and live on Skype. We got Josh.
Hey.
We another special episode this week. WrestleMania. Obviously, we are in January when this airs. We are in mid-December when we are recording this, and we are looking all the way ahead to WrestleMania. What matches do we think will be there? What feuds do we think will be on? And I think the easiest way for us to make a prediction or to guess it out is I'm just going to look at Cody Rhodes, WWE Champion. Do you think he's making it to WrestleMania with that belt still around his waist?
Yes.
And then the
I
obvious
I
follow-up,
do.
who's he going to go against?
Yeah. And I'm going to give you an obvious answer. Randy Orton. Um, I'm not sure how they set it up. But I do think Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes happens at in the main event of night 2 of WrestleMania. Um, so I think that's the first thing that we can probably check off is I think with or without the title, that match is happening at WrestleMania. I think it's just more interesting to give Randy Orton a chance at that 15th world title than at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think it's also with John Cena coming back for his run, who I'm sure we'll talk about throughout this episode, but that 15 for Randy Orton becomes maybe potentially a bit more important. We've already seen him side-eyeing the WWE Championship, and so there's definitely routes and paths to booking the Rhodes Orton match. There's always gonna be feud there. You know, it's not going to be hard to put a video package together. It's not going to be hard to give them both motivation. And if between now and then it is just going to be, you know, Kevin Owens feud to bring us through maybe to the Royal Rumble, maybe we put another feud in for Rumble or for Elimination Chamber, and then we got Orton for WrestleMania. I can definitely see it. The only question mark for me about it all is The Rock. And I just don't think he's going to play a factor necessarily. I don't know. He's ever looming, but I don't think he's going to strike in the next 4 months.
Yeah, I've heard, and again, this is December. There's a lot of grain of salt to be it, but I've heard rumors that he's not going to be part of WrestleMania this year, which is why I said Randy Orton. Because I think if there were rumors and things that were like maybe The Rock will be part of it, maybe Rock will have time, I think I would have answered with The Rock. And I would have said he would have lost the title because for God's sake, that match does not need that. Any match with Cody Rhodes and does not need that title for Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. But yeah, I think we're about 80% to where on Cody. I think there's obviously options, but I think it's pretty much almost set in stone that at one of the nights, at the very least, it'll be Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes at some point on one of those nights.
Yeah, I agree. Let's leave it at that so we can talk about some potential other matchups. I'm going to ask the same thing now. We're going to look at Gunther, World Heavyweight Champion. Do you think he's making it to WrestleMania still with that championship around his waist? And who do you think is going to go up against him? If you don't think Randy Orton's going to win the Rumble, potentially the Rumble winner's going to have to go up against Gunther.
Well, I'm 50-50, to be honest, on Gunther retaining the title to then. Personally, I think I would like him to, because what I want to have happen is Gunther versus Jay, because I want Jey Uso to win the Rumble. That said, it probably will end up being Randy Orton's third win, just to say screw everything. But I want Jey Uso to win the Rumble and get a shot at Gunther for the world title without any interference and stuff at WrestleMania. Yeah, that's where I'm feeling. That's what I'm feeling for Gunther.
Yeah, my only other thought with Gunther, obviously we've got a year to do it, but next year is the final year of John Cena. I don't see him winning a Rumble. And so, yeah, I think if we are going to do Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, it does sort of leave the Rumble winner to go for Gunther. and so therefore John Cena's going to have to play a different part in his final WrestleMania that isn't a championship match. He's got plenty of time down the year to do something about it. But yeah, I know we talked to Gunther John Cena as a potential option. I think it's on the table, but I don't think it's super high up.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it. That's the other thing. If they do want to take the title off of him, and I have no idea who they would put it on, then yeah, I would go 100% Gunther versus John Cena at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my opinion there is it's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I just want Jay to win the Rumble and then win the world title at WrestleMania. That's just what I want to have happen. Whether it happens or not, who knows?
Well, then that does leave the question open. John Cena, what is his role going to be at WrestleMania? Because if this is his last one, surely he's going to have a bit of a spotlight match, right?
Yeah. I think that might be a spot for maybe somebody we talked heavily about in the last week. How about John Cena versus Braun Breaker, Intercontinental title match?
Yeah. We've seen John Cena willing to work that mid-card championship. And I think in this year, anybody who works with John Cena is really going to get that rub and going to be focused and featured and going to have all eyes on them. I think the two could put on a good match. I don't know if Braun's going to be too intense for one of John's first ones back, but I guess it's 4 months into the year, so he should have had plenty of time to warm up into a Braun Breaker, but I do feel like at some point in John Cena's year, he's going to have to question whether he's still got it. You're not going to have John Cena just winning 100% of matches in his final year. And so I could see a sort of arc where maybe he loses some of his opening matches, and he's like, well, why am I even here doing this retirement tour? Do I still have it? Gains that bit of momentum back, bit of faith in himself, maybe goes for the world title at that point. I don't know if he captures and breaks the record or not, but if that's the arc they decide to go with, then a match with Braun Breaker at WrestleMania with Braun coming out on top would be a hell of a good ignition source to that. John loses at WrestleMania, can't capture the Intercontinental title. The young upstart has just got too much gas on him. I think that could be a good way to tell that story if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, and that is one of the only accomplishments John Cena never accomplished in WWE, the Intercontinental Championship. So that is something that I think they could do. But with John Cena, it's like anything is basically on the table.
Yeah, I think John's going to do whatever John wants to do, right?
No, I think John will do whatever WWE wants him to do. He's always been the ultimate company guy. And I think if they want him to put somebody over at WrestleMania, he'll do it. It could be Braun. It could be insert name here that's not Theory.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I don't know. His position is a lot less clear because for me, when I throw that out, I'm like, that's a possibility. But honestly, I think Braun Breaker probably defends against Sheamus at WrestleMania. I think that's probably where they're going with that title.
Yeah, so many options, and I think that's the best part looking at it from 4 months out. There's so many different paths that you could take, so many different options. We're going to have this show, and we're going to look back on this in 4 months and be like, man, we were so wrong. None of those matches we were discussing happened because so much can change in a month. So much can change in a Royal Rumble pay-per-view, right? That's where you set up all these feuds. That's where the proverbial road to WrestleMania starts. There's so many different bits and pieces, but it's cool to look ahead and see what potentially could lie for us. And I think Liv Morgan and her Women's World Championship is another one where we've had this feud all of 2024. It was her, it was Rhea Ripley. At least for me personally, I feel like Rhea Ripley is going to get that championship back, close the book on that feud. And so then now I'm looking Rhea Ripley getting to WrestleMania potentially with the title. What does that look like for her, and who's going to be standing against her on the other side of the ring?
As much as I think you're going to be annoyed with this,
Oh, don't tell me we're going to drag the feud out. Don't do it.
no.
Okay.
I I think it'll be Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez.
I'm not super annoyed by that.
But that keeps Liv in the picture. So
True.
that's the reason it would be annoyed. I don't know. Again, there's a lot of questions with the Raw Women's division. Because it's a lot weaker than the SmackDown one. And then you have the Intercontinental Championship that's being introduced, that kind of by the mid card. So yeah, I think Raquel. I could see maybe Raquel Rodriguez winning the Rumble, and then challenging Rhea for the title at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think definitely possible. Because as much as I want this feud closed, it doesn't seem like WWE wants this feud closed. So it could be something that drags out there. I can't think of any other sort of written in the stars matchups for Rhea Ripley. Outside of, like a Charlotte comeback maybe. You got a couple things here and there, but Rhea's entire being for the last 12 months has been Liv Morgan. And so if that doesn't continue, whether that be in the form of Raquel or in the form of Liv for WrestleMania, then maybe we're going to spring somebody else up. Maybe we'll have a shock winner of the Rumble and go that way. Don't quite know, obviously. And then we flip the coin and we look at the WWE Women's Champion, Nia Jax, at the moment. We've got this will they, won't they with Tiffany Stratton and her Money in the Bank briefcase. Surely between now and WrestleMania she will have cashed in, right?
I don't think we're too far out from it. So I think it will be Tiffany with the title at WrestleMania. I have no idea who her opponent would be. I could possibly see maybe somebody like a Naomi, Old Reliable, and Bailey. Somebody like that. Maybe Crazy Thoughts, depending on if she returns in time and she's not that injured. Jade Cargill versus Tiffy.
Yeah, I feel like with the men, we've sort of got these roadmaps that we're kind of following and we're kind of expecting. And in the women's divisions, they're in their feuds right now. They've both been pretty long-running feuds. And once those are finished, I don't quite know what the next thing is. The whole build has been Tiffany getting that title. And once she has the title, it might be a little hard for her, especially depending how it comes out of it. If she spins out of this as a face, you can't run away from every challenge. And Tiffany's good in the ring, but when you list out all of the people that she's potentially going to have to go up against, like a game Nia Jax, not a beatdown post-match Nia Jax or a Bailey or a Jade or a Bianca, I struggle to see a lot of combinations where I can see Tiffany pulling it out for too long of a title reign after cashing in. I don't know how bright necessarily her future is, depending on the direction her character goes in terms of holding that title for much longer.
Yeah. I think they want to turn her face, so I think that will be part of it. Is that she will follow very much a 2021 Liv Morgan in winning her title, and maybe not winning convincingly, but winning.
Yeah. We're going to have to see how Tiffany as a champion goes. I do believe the crowd will be behind her. And so I don't know, for a WrestleMania caliber match. I don't have any, dream opponents to put on the other side of the ring for Tiffany. So at the moment, a little more up in the air, a little more open to seeing what her opponent is going to end up looking like. Well, we are roughly halfway through the show, so that is time to go into our entrance theme this week. And this week it is gonna be CM Punk's theme. Playing for you now. Enjoy listening up on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. And a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Seth Rollins and CM Punk going at it on that first Raw of Netflix. And you did allude, you said that they were having that match because maybe we were going to have different combinations at WrestleMania. So what do you think is WrestleMania going to hold for CM Punk and for Seth Rollins?
I think that match is taking place on the first Raw because I think they're going to plant the seed, if they haven't already, a seed that explodes at that particular event for CM Punk to finally get his main event at WrestleMania. It would be the WrestleMania Night 1 main event against Roman Reigns. I think that's probably, if you're not going to do Seth there, and they're clearly not, then I think the biggest match you can make for CM Punk that would be worthy of being the main event of a night at WrestleMania is Roman Reigns. Quite simply, I think that's just where we're going. I think that the favor CM Punk's going to ask for is, because I think it also will tie into the other match. I think the favor is to screw Roman in that Ulafala match, because I don't know how many people caught on to it, but on SmackDown when they announced the match, our friend Paul Heyman was doing the "I love you" solo thing on the while they were announcing the match. I really think he turns on Roman there, which gives Solo full control of the bloodline, and we can spin them off and do whatever they want to do with them. But I think that will set up CM Punk versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, because we don't need CM Punk with a championship. We don't need him in a championship match. So next best situation is a match with the top guy.
Yeah, I think if you'd asked me a month ago, right, prior to Survivor Series, I'd be sitting here going, yeah, they're going to put CM Punk, Seth Rollins on WrestleMania. They'll put a Roman Reigns versus the Bloodline, probably Solo Sikoa on WrestleMania. And those will be sort of the matches, and they'll progress those stories forward. And maybe Rollins and Punk can build their feud up to main event level in the next 4 months and heat it up and heat it up. And then War Games happened. CM Punk gets involved, which was a cool wrinkle in the storyline. And then I think if they weren't already leaning that way, WWE, seeing the numbers that Punk and Roman pulled, whether it was their interactions in the pod, whether it was in the ring, the reaction was hot for Punk and Reigns. And then, you see in the coming weeks after War Games, those matches that we expect to potentially happen further down the line, they're brought up, right? We're getting the first Raw on Netflix. Bam, there's your Punk Rollins. Bam, there's your Roman Reigns for the Ulafala. And we've brought them up. We've got the time to build to something else when we get down to WrestleMania. And you're right, I do think the money at the moment, if you asked me today on the 18th of December when we've recorded this, the money is in CM Punk Roman Reigns. The Paul Heyman aspect is there. You've got a story that you can pull off. It's somebody who has been hot for the last many years in the WWE, and it's the male chickeny guy coming on back into the WWE who's chomping at the bit for his WrestleMania main event. Here's his easiest way to get it, right?
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff that they can do in a video package or in the story leading up to it, because they can lead back to that infamous podcast with where Punk threw Roman Reigns under the bus, and Roman can finally say to his face how he felt about that, things that and things like that, and like him, hate him, whatever. CM Punk is at his best when he's a heel, and that's exactly what would happen in this proverbial feud. He would have to turn heel. You can't have a face CM Punk versus a face Roman Reigns. It's not going to work. But having him be heel and having the advocate work for him for this match, it pretty much writes itself.
Yeah.
Much as, because as we said earlier, we don't accept Rock on the show. If we did, then we're talking completely different here, because I think they would have held off on Seth CM Punk then for WrestleMania, because we would have had Rock Roman night 1 and Rock Rhodes night 2, or reverse that.
Yeah. I think similarly to last year, right, where we had an idea of what WrestleMania was going to be, and then The Rock came in with some dynamite and blew up all of those plans. That would happen again. So we are fully looking ahead and predicting on the assumption that The Rock will not be there, and if The Rock is there, it all goes to hell. Well, everything's out the window. Let's rebook it all, and let's change all of this around. Well, we got a few more minutes left in the show. Is there any feuds you think are gonna be there? Any shocking ones, or any big statements you want to make that you think may end up on that WrestleMania card in 4 months' time?
I expect one of the newly crowned women mid-card champions to lose their title at WrestleMania in a ladder match.
I was gonna say that, yeah.
I think it'll end up being as much as it's going to pay me to say. I think it'll be Chelsea that'll lose. But boy, will it be a glorious 3 months as champion. I don't know. That's, again, newly crowned titles. It's going to be a lot of bits and pieces of how they want to work on that. But I just feel like one of these champions will lose, and it will probably be defended in a ladder match in a multi-woman match. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I really like it when those mid-card titles used to be in, 4, 5, 6-way ladder matches. It was always cool. It would lead to some cool moments, and it would highlight quite a few people on the roster, right? And a spot that the Battle Royals don't. And so to bring that, I don't even know if it would be called a tradition, to bring that tradition to the women's mid-card titles, I think would be fun. They don't often, outside of a Money in the Bank match, really get the chance to do something like that. So, bung them in a multi-way match, put on a show. Yeah, I would quite enjoy it. And as you say, Chelsea Green, probably makes sense. I don't know how long her title reign is going to run. For all we know, her title reign's over already. I don't think that's the case. But yeah, everything's fluid.
By the way, I will be incredibly sad if she's not on the first Raw, agonizing GM Adam Pearce with her title, because I think that will be perfect. Her agonizing Aldis and Pearce for however long this intertwining period is for wrestlers to be able to go between the two shows is going to be perfect. And I think that's part of why I wanted her to win the title, because I wanted her to rub it in the face of her GMs.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing. Obviously, we are rapidly running out of time this week, but another thing as well that makes WrestleMania that little bit less predictable is we are in that December-Jan period, and the trading period has opened up, quote-unquote trading period between Raw and SmackDown, and maybe we're going to get some fresh matchups. We're looking at these from the lens of who's on Raw to challenge for this title, who's on SmackDown to challenge for this title. Maybe it all gets shuffled up, and we get some combinations we're not expecting, especially in that mid-card region, right? We got Braun Breaker on one side, we got the newly crowned Shinsuke on the other side at the moment, and the woman as well. There could be some combinations we're not expecting just because we don't know how the rosters are going to sit come WrestleMania time. And that'll probably really start to solidify more around that Royal Rumble, that February period as well. So looking forward to seeing what WrestleMania ends up holding for everybody. But that is it for this week. It has been great talking to you.
Maybe.
And you can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D upper, our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D upper, our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling R&D up. And next week we will be back to your regularly scheduled programming, and I'll see you then.